What's going on, everybody? We are back with another super special guest. Today's guest is a professional wrestler. He's a former champion for PPW and Three Legacies Wrestling. He is from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. He is the Jockzilla. He is all energy. Ladies and gentlemen, Breaux Keller. Bro, thanks so much for joining me today.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me. I feel like this is long overdue.
Yeah, yeah, we've been wanting to have you on for quite some time now, but glad you made it tonight. But yeah, let's just get right into it. A couple weekends ago, I think it was the 9th, you have that VCW event down in Virginia. If you could just first explain, what that Dirty Money Cup is, and then your match itself that night.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you brought that up because basically the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, for those that aren't aware, that's really where I cut my teeth in professional wrestling. Like that was where I really started to break out. And not saying that I am really somebody nowadays, but that was where I really started to create a little bit of buzz and get the name rolling a little bit. But in the time that I spent down there was, I mean, he's essentially a legend. And his name was Dirty Money. And I wrestled him a couple times at this point. But unfortunately, the last VCW show that I was on, he went for a maneuver and I think he was doing some sort of dive out of the ring. But he tore both of his hamstrings or quadriceps. I forget. Something similar like what Vince McMahon did,
Mhm.
which was very unfortunate. But I think in some capacity, he had a little bit of a chuckle about it just because the body wasn't quite where the mind was in that,
Mhm.
in that moment.
Yeah.
But yes, far too soon, Dirty Money had passed away not too long thereafter that incident. I forget, honestly, and it's on me. I feel bad for not even knowing necessarily how, but he did pass away, unfortunately. And that was essentially us paying tribute to him because he does play and has played such a big part in the DMV and just independent wrestling in general. He has
Mhm.
been a staple for the past decade, 2 decades at this point. And he's well respected. He has been known in VCW, MCW in Maryland, for those that maybe aren't as familiar with his work, but he was an incredible human. He was an awesome wrestler, and he was definitely missed. So the Dirty Money Cup was us paying tribute to him, and it's just a way to keep his name living.
Mm. Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great way to honor him, and then the match itself. I know you had it with Chris Slade, and I forget the other two guys that were in there.
Yeah, so it was actually the way it worked. It was a cool setup where there were two tag team matches. So as you alluded to, myself and Chris Slade, we were paired up together. So we were partners. And then we wrestled Papadon and Joseph Keys in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite an interesting matchup. We were in there for a while, just getting after each other. And I will say, Slade and myself, we've got some good chemistry.
Mm,
It worked out pretty well being partners, for at least for that match.
mm,
And then in the other match, there was, oh my goodness, I don't even remember who all four competitors were. But then the winners of each match, they advanced to a fatal four way. So
mm,
then we ended up seeing Brandon Scott in the finals, which again, another DMV Northeast kind of legend.
mm.
Um, and then Jonathan Elliott, we saw him in the finals too. So it was a four way. And Scott and Elliott, they've got a little bit of a pass, so they were really getting after each other, which lended itself to me and Slade going for it a little bit, just trying to
Mm.
beat each other out. Partners then instantly enemies, but we'll say we're frenemies at this point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know Chris Slade. I'm familiar with him from PPW and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great matchup. Kind of crazy rule set, but it sounds like pretty fun. Um, but I want to just go back a little bit. I think it was last year. It wasn't the very first time I would have seen you in person, but one of them. It was your first match with Miles Hawkins. I know you had a pair of
Oh.
them. Those were insane. Both those matches, back to back months. you had that spot where you guys replicate the Ricochet and Logan Paul
You
off the
got it.
ropes. Seeing that in person was so crazy. Just take us through that. Whose idea was that? If you could just talk about that series, the pair of matches too.
Yeah, Miles Hawkins is a tremendous athlete. So I definitely need to say that first and foremost because you know the old expression where it's like wrestling this person's like a day off. Well, as much as I would like to say that, it's actually quite the opposite because he's going to push you. As smooth and as efficient as he is in the ring, it's it's a match when you're in there with him where it's like you both want to bring the best out of each other,
Yeah.
and it's not a day off because you're trying to pull out all the stops. As you mentioned, we went for that Ricochet Logan Paul spot,
Yes.
and let me tell you, it was a lot more than I was thinking it was going to be. I was a little naive when we were discussing it. I was like, yeah, let's do it. It'll be great. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But once you're like mid-flight and you're looking at each other from across the ring, whew, you see your life flash before your eyes. It's quite a moment. And then obviously impact, boom.
Yeah.
Holy goodness. Yeah, you feel every bit of that impact. So yeah, we were talking things through, not to peel back the curtain too much, but they had a conversation, I guess, in his car ride up to the
Mm.
show. And that idea was floated around. It was like, well, not to toot my own horn, it's like we got two athletes in there, so let's get after it. Let's see what we can pull off. So that was definitely a fun moment, especially given the circumstances. Us going to like a time limit draw, that being the
Hmm.
final move,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's certainly something I won't forget because he is just such a blast to work with. Yeah, we've worked in PPW, we worked in MCW, we were tag team partners for a cup of coffee in AEW. Um, yeah, so we've actually done quite a bit together now that I reflect back on it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That spot was insane. It was like a just a human car crash just colliding. There's
That's
really no way to prepare
that's
for
a
that, I
good way
guess.
to put it.
Yeah, it's just whatever hits hits.
Pretty much. And honestly, I will say I'm proud of us because it was clean. Like we
Yeah.
both connected right where we should have. And yeah, I won't lie. I was feeling it the next day. That is a fact. But got to do it for the internet, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then just I know you have a vast, deep history with PPW. That was like the first indie promotion I got into in the
Yes.
area. Just what does that promotion just mean to you?
PPW means a lot to me because they gave me opportunities when not many other people were. And I'm forever grateful for that. Anthony and Paul, those guys run a great promotion. Even Alpha Jr. for a while, he was really helping run the show there. I don't know if he was booking or not, but he was just such a locker room presence, such a locker room leader. And I owe a lot to those guys. I mean, I've gotten plenty of opportunities while working with them. I was their champion for, I think it was about a year that I
Mhm.
held their title, and they entrusted me with that, which that's an honor. I mean, I just saw a post the other day that somebody put up about championship titles, and not to go on a tangent here, but they're more than just a prop. I agree. Where this was basically his argument.